Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to witness 5,000 words per hour. Does that sound impressive? Do you have no idea what context to put that in? Okay, let me help here. My name is Margaret Pinard. Welcome to my channel. I'm a writer of 6 books so far. I'll be reviewing Chris Fox's book, 5,000 Words Per Hour today, along with several of my colleagues. Check out their channels in the description. So, I do book reviews here on this channel, and this is going to be a book review of a different color. It's a fellow author's writing craft book. And so it always gets a little dicey. How do you know them? How well do you know them? Is it the same genre? Do you have the same experiences? And so authors want to qualify their reviews. So I will do that as well. This is just my experience and my impressions of and reactions to Chris Fox's book. Now, it's a very short book. That's the first thing I'll say. Just like the last one, Honoré Corder's book, also very short. I'm not sure if this is a theme for authors who write writing craft books, but it's the third one that I've read that's very short. And I looked it up as a paperback. It is 86 pages. Look at my notes here. I'm gonna start with the bones I have to pick. Okay, so we'll get that out of the way first. Multiple times, Chris Fox talks about the things that he was able to accomplish simply by building up his ability to crank out words. He has this system that gets him to write more words with several helpful tools and setup, and that has gotten him on his way to being a better writer and a faster writer. This is my first bone to pick. He has under results for chapter 1 that you will learn to complete things by writing more words. And this is not true. You can write lots of words but never complete something. I have seen it. I have done it. If you're already starting at the beginning, you will never complete the thing. He doesn't address that. His number 3 result, you will learn structure, characters, pacing, plot, all that stuff as you go, as you write lots of words. Again, he doesn't provide any tools that will contribute to this. He just says, by piling up words, like piling up gold coins with Uncle Scrooge, you will magically develop these discerning tools and the abilities to know how to plot, how to structure, how to change your tone, how to change your voice depending on the situation, which is not true. It's not magic. Okay, progress. So one of the main tenets of his thought of accruing words leading you to a better skill as a writer is that you will finish because you will keep coming back because you see the progress you're making. And again, technically, the more words you write doesn't mean that you are getting better. So, I may not be the audience for this book. There are my first 3 bones to pick. We can move on to chapter 4. The next big thing, clearing the decks. I love this phrase because it's part of a little rhyme that one of my friend's mothers, who is a writer, taught me a long time ago. Clearing the decks and preparing to work is one of my favorite ways to shirk. Which, is not the goal of this book. You don't want to shirk your writing duties. But it's actually a good chapter. But he talks about writing out those things that will distract you or get on your mind or keep you from just writing your words and proposing solutions to them. So if you're constantly thinking about, oh, I have a delivery that's going to be coming and I'm going to be distracted looking for the door, then schedule your time after the delivery is due to be there. Solutions, which sounds fine, but there's no notation of like the privilege that is inherent in that. Meaning you have solutions, you have resources, you have people to depend on, which is not the case for everybody. And I'm not saying you have to say this all the time. It just wasn't mentioned once in the whole book, all 86 pages. But it was written in 2015, so that may be a sign of the times as well. Chapter 5, the world's fastest explanation of plotting a novel. So chapter 5 is when he talks about, here's how you plan your novel so that you have something to go on when you're just writing. And he goes through like a paragraph of find your plot, a paragraph of drill down to your scene, a few paragraphs, and that's it. And like visualize things. And it makes me think of the Music Man, his whistle method of just think the tune up here and it'll come out here eventually. It's very wishful thinking, so that didn't work for me either. One of his other points is that making a living as a writer requires lots of words. And so he is driving you, he's funneling you through this book to just pile on the words. And there's no acknowledgement that making a living as a writer requires discipline and drive in more than this one micro arena, right? So there's no acknowledgement that there are other parts of the process that you have to get good at, to push those books out, to publish them, to have them look professional, and all this other stuff. And so it promises all these things if you have the discipline to work his method, which can be one tool in the box, but it's not going to get you to making a living as a writer, and that's how he sells it. So I disagree with that. Chapter 8, we have a content edit and a proofread. Chris Fox says you have 2 editing passes at one point. You have a content edit pass where you go back and you still count the words that you're editing because you may be adding to or shifting or however you're going to do it. So you're going to count the pages worth of words that you pass through, even if you're not creating them, which is very strange. And so then he gives himself another word per hour count because it's all about upping your word per hour speed, your rate. And I feel like this is a little like competitive cycling and a little too focused on the numbers. When you are editing for content and you have a very sketchy plotted outline that you were writing on, there's going to be a lot of stuff that you're going to have to go back and forth. You don't make a note and then go back and have it fixed the first time you go through it. At least not in my experience. So I think it is a little optimistic to think that you will have one edit pass for content and one edit pass for proofreading. And oh my gosh, your word per hour content when you proofread is going to be so high because it's imaginary. You're not writing those words. It's not a word per hour count to me. It's a proofreading rate of time spent. I don't know. I can't do that. And he doesn't say, oh, what if you write in a different genre and you have to research stuff and you're not just making the world up? Or even if you are making the world up and you want it to be cohesive, you need world building time. And then you need to put that back in. So it's like, okay. So I don't understand why he's bothering to count proofread words, content edited words, and like factor that in as words per hour rates and be proud of it, because that just makes no sense to me. It seems like it's making the numbers more important than the quality of the words, which I don't agree with. And then finally, chapter 9, he says each day needs to be better than the last. And
so I'm going to slow down, take another step back,
and say, not only am I not the target audience for this, but I am like the anti-capitalist audience for this. So this sounds a lot like a growth mindset. Like the more growth, the better. Like, can you get your words up to 5,000 per 20 minutes? Why not? If you're dictating, if you're talking like the Micro Machine Man, more is better, right? And you're like, no, that's not sustainable. That's not generative. That's not restorative. The soil from which you pull those words will eventually like cave in like a sinkhole and try to swallow you, which is, mental health in this metaphor. The metaphor that comes to me is just that it's like cancer. Every day getting better than the last. There's no room for cycles, which is,
I don't know, perhaps a more feminine way of looking at something.
There's no room for, he does talk about fields lying fallow, but it's like half a page. And then he uses quotes like this. So it didn't sound like he was really bought into that model. And then master the rest of your craft so you can eclipse everyone. And I'm like, master the rest of your craft. Perhaps that's where we're supposed to buy the rest of the books in the series that address things other than the number of words, which is a very small piece. One of the things he talks about in chapter 9 is gamification. concept with which I am pretty familiar, but not in the details. And he doesn't explain the details because this is only 86 pages. The gamification that he describes seems to be more like competitiveness. I have never gone for numbers, partially because it's an objective measure. It just seems to be too hyped, too intense, too competitive for me. Okay, that said, positive. There is only one typo I found in the whole book. That is not usually the case. So either he did his proofreading really well, or he had multiple years to go back and edit it and edit out any of those things. It came across as very smooth, very professional delivery, so kudos on that. I only found one or two confusing references in terms of how the paragraph was explained and what was referring to what, which I find often in books, so that was also a very good record. I really liked the tortoise enclosure metaphor, which he takes from John Cleese, who's part of Monty Python, I believe, so there's an old reference and a very solid metaphor for how to segregate or safeguard your writing time. So that was great. And then there were some unusual things that I liked or noticed. And the first was how often he linked to his app and worksheet. This is more than a dozen times. In a book of 86 pages, it might have been 20 times where he refers to his app, which you can use to do these little formulas, or the worksheet if you don't have a smartphone. In 2015, people didn't. And links them, hyperlinks them. So if you're reading the ebook, you can snap right off and buy those things. And snaps. Good job selling yourself. I noticed it. And then the other unusual thing was the chapter at the end on mindset, which he includes for the people who have read the whole book. Oh, and I'll give one major caveat at the end to my reading of the book. There is a more personal and narrative chapter at the end on mindset where he actually talks about his own life and experiences, which is always like more compelling to me. It is a little disjointed because I think he's trying to bridge the personal narrative and the muscle-bound personal trainer kind of tone that he has for the rest of the book, but I really liked that he put that in there and said a lot of this depends on you psyching yourself up, you motivating yourself to do this, you surrounding yourself by the right people, you setting yourself goals, and, in my view, I would add forgiving yourself when you don't make them so that you still can make progress without beating yourself up over it. So that was really neat. But overall, I would say I am not going to take this advice. I am not looking to write 5,000 words per hour. If I had to choose the next book that my colleagues and I decided to read and review for a writing craft to book, it would be something around writer's block or like a swamp or like a strange hesitation that you develop after you've been in the business for a while and can't seem to find your spark again. So, just a recommendation, but yeah. The caveat that I almost forgot is that I read through this book and I did not do the exercises. I have done Nano. I have done Camp Nano. I'm definitely familiar with sprints, and I have done them before. I think August, about a month and a half ago, was the last time I did a sprint for some of my fireside chats. So I'm very familiar with the streamlined, goal-oriented, number-dependent, or number-noticing goals for writing. My issue is that once I have those words, I have trouble editing them and finishing them. Maybe he's got a book for that, but we're gonna just leave it there, and I hope you have a wonderful day, everybody. Thank you for stopping by and watching this video. I hope the other people reviewing this book with me today had different angles to talk to you about, and you get a well-rounded look at whether this book will be right for you on your writing journey. The courage of a mediocre white man? No, that's not how I wanted this to start. Okay. So it's 5:30 in the morning. What now?